So we have completed our full solid turnaround. That's as far as we're going to take this series. 15 lectures. I've walked you through each and every process by creating this humanoid, 3D humanoid character, then building on that with a body with these major frames. We learned about adding a hairstyle, and then after the hairstyle we in-betweened it to get it to the same level of fluidity as this guy here, so it eventually becomes that guy. You've learned advanced solid drawing, the complete character turnaround for the advanced archive of the AMB Animation real animator training library. So here we would have done this lecture learning how to draw the character's face, to get this face out of the way. So you would have completed that, the law of solid drawing. That is a very advanced lecture. The character was modified, of course, to be a little bit kind of robotic. So even in its final form, you can see she's kind of flat-faced and stuff, which is not true to the design. But we talked about those things in the lecture of how you're going to learn and make it easier. So in this lecture, we are doing something, we are going a little bit beyond that, but then at the same time, that lecture is going to help you with understanding this lecture. So in this lecture, we are going to be turning around a full human torso. So the facial stuff is there in this lecture, but we are not going to be covering it in as much detail, because you would have already gone through that in the previous turnaround series. So we are going to be talking more about how to keep the torso, how to simplify the anatomy and such. You are seeing it in color here to see it working as a solid form, so you can see what it looks like. But this is it in line. Some of those muscles are dancing around a bit, but that's fine. As you saw, it doesn't really affect too much in the color, and if it annoys you or irritates you too much, you can always erase those things. Me personally, I kind of like it. It keeps it lively, it keeps it hand drawn. But as you can see, we're going for accuracy here. So again, what was mentioned before is these are not how character turnarounds are done for animation model sheets, okay? Because the character may need to look more appealing from certain angles, for example his profile and such. Let's go and have a look inside at the character model. So the drawing would be changed to accentuate certain things that wouldn't necessarily animate as solidly, but this is how to, if we were living in this, trying to make a full three-dimensional rotation of a character, as in if we were animating to a CG background or animating a false 360 rotation camera move. So you can see that while it does all add up, there are aspects that need to be changed if we were going to do a appealing model. Again, the legs and the musculature, there's a lot of cheating going on in there, but we can see, you're going to enjoy watching how that all works and how to get the form of these legs and form of these muscles, which is very, very interesting. How to see how they change form in the arm, how the arm changes form, and we get tricep muscles and bicep muscles and all those things. So originally this was done in a very, we're going to do this in the same way. We're going to draw in a very constructive way first, and then we are going to build on the construction of this character over the series of lectures. So we are going to be doing some drawing. Right, so the first thing I did when I did this turnaround is rather than going from a front and side view, which is the way I teach it in previous lectures, is at a more advanced level, I want to go for a 3/4 view. So I would have made a straight kind of line like this to make sure that my figure was balanced, and I would have just given a rough kind of feel for the pose. He's kind of like a masculine character, so I would have created these kind of shapes. Okay, so I would have created this kind of shape, and don't worry, I will explain all of this to you as to how, you know, why I created these shapes and what they represent, so that you won't feel lost. So I would have created some kind of like figure like this, okay, a kind of stick figure like this, and that would have kind of represented to me the pose that I would have wanted. So let's take a look at that first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep that next to my image as I draw, and I'm going to put it in a blue so that you will always have it available. Now when we create that figure, so I would like you to try and create this figure. Don't worry, because you're going to be drawing along with me to the accurate figures I make earlier, but I want you to get the most you can out of this process, and I want your subconscious to understand the way this all works. Now up here I'm going to create three-dimensional quality to the leg. Okay, now this comes with experience, okay, because I know that there's a muscle called the rectus femoris, which is kind of this shape. So you'll just have to go with me here, okay. Around the bottom of here, just go around like this and then join it up. Now you see how we've got like some dimension to this constructed leg now. We're going up this way and down this way. Can you see that? You see, just by simplifying our anatomy in this fashion, we are able to create some real three-dimensional qualities to the character's leg. So again, we're going to go from the iliac crest of the hip up here, and we're going to join this and curl this round to create the sartorius, and the gracilis is going to come in the middle there like that. So that is essentially our model that we're going to start learning how to turn around. So hopefully in this lesson, it's taken an hour and 20 minutes. So it's been a long, solid lecturing, nothing but solid lecturing, and an hour and 20 minutes to explain how to turn this, okay, into this. So Real Animator Training Library members, just as a reminder to you, as you are studying from this lecture in the advanced archive, please do follow along, okay. Right, so if we put on the light box there, we'll be treated to a very strong image, okay. But what we want to do now, as I said, I'm going to teach you the way I did it, and in advanced animation, okay, we again have the know-how to just intuitively do things. So I'm not being so rigid with the guide. So what I would do, okay, and I'm going to do this in blue, and I'm going to want you to do it in blue. I'm going to want you to follow along with me. Is I'm going to draw a line, okay, down the center, in between these two guys, right? So that's going to give me my center line of my guy. And I'm going to draw kind of like a line along the feet, okay? And I'm going to kind of work out a line along where the hip area is. I'm going to work out a line along where the clavicle is, and where the top, and where the tops of the head are, where the chin is, okay? So I'm going to kind of have these kind of, even where the mouth is, okay, and where the nose is, okay, and where the eyes are, where the top, so all these little features, okay, it's going to be hard to see some of them, so I will just flip like that, okay, and I will kind of like figure out, sometimes I won't go, sometimes you would, as it's a front view and it's rotating, sometimes you'd kind of put a medium, so we've got this high here and this high here, so that's going like that, but the chest is also got a low point here and a low point here, okay, so I've put this kind of like in the middle to balance it. So now we're going to talk about the ears. The ears are stuff that you have you will have learned again from that series, other series. So if I look at this shape, okay, I just simply have to understand the ear in perspective. So if I do this and I create a shape like this, I'm merely imagining this ellipse, okay, in perspective, okay? And then I want to, like a CG artist would do, I would want to think about texture mapping. I would think about texture mapping on that ear. So if you understand the ear, you'll understand you've got the tegus, the antitegus, and the helix, okay? And then you can put a little thing in here. Inside you've got a concha, you got a, this is the, yeah, and the anti-helix. And in here you can put the greater and inferior crus. So all I'm going to do is imagine that ellipse shape here, but then understand that this would be going like this, and this would be going out. And then you need to understand the shapes of the anti-helix coming around the concha like this, in here like that. So that's how easy it is, how these shapes deform and bend to create the illusion of the ear. So in this video, at 1 hour 19 minutes, we've now taken it to this stage. If we look at that, we've only done 2 drawings, but we've got 3 poses. So within here, okay, we've got our pubis, our ilium, our acetabulum, okay, which is going to come around here, and the same deal like this. This is all simplified for us to understand, okay, with the sacrum is going to be in the back, and this ischiasm is going to sit here, okay, and then this is going to come out here like that, right? So as we go to the side, okay, as I go to the side, I need to imagine using those lines how this thing will turn around. Okay, so I need to imagine that this is going to kind of turn around this way and come in. This is where anatomy really helps in creating this illusion for us. Actually, this would come out the back like this, okay, and this would come around and under there like that. So I need to kind of imagine this thing. This would be turning out more, okay. So we would have less of this, okay. So this is kind of like what we would be getting, and the spine would be like this, right? So we need to visualize that in these simple blocks that I've created to represent that, right? We've talked about how I cheat the bicep and the tricep tendon into this simple one shape, okay. But I want you to imagine that this simple kind of like, it's almost like the Decepticon logo, you know, it's just turning like that, okay? And that is the secret science of shape simplification in action again. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a really thin brush here, and I'm going to keep my back construction in loosely, but I want you to focus on the marks I'm making with this guy here. So now a little bit about the theory of the arm. So remember, we do this for know-how, not just for copying, and because if you don't know how and you just copy, even if you copy step by step, you're still going to struggle, okay? So we now must understand that the humerus bone is here, okay? And the deltoid, the anterior deltoid, the posterior deltoid, and the lateral deltoid are going to be like here like this, right? The bicep is going to run on here and then connect somewhere to the ulna bone like this, right? Then you have the lateral head of the tricep, okay, and the long head of the tricep like this, okay? So the lateral head and the long head of the tricep. Now this area here is the tricep tendon, which connects to the back of the ulna, and then you have your flexor ulnaris, okay, which goes on either side. Your brachialis will come in the middle here, and then your brachioradialis will curl around the top of the arm there like that. So we've got our extreme side, our extreme 3/4, and our front, okay. So if essentially what I did is I'm gonna take the outline of this guy, right, and I'm gonna focus on the outline, just the outline, right? So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna focus on this, and I'm going to do something like this, right? But I would focus on, okay, this arm is down here, okay, so I'm going to bring this here, and I would think, well, this would maybe need to be extended a little bit more to help that illusion, right? and then maybe I would focus on where this hand is, on this original hand, and I would think about bringing that there and saying, well, we want to create the illusion that this hand is now behind. Okay, so how do we do that? We simply just bring that in a bit and this one out a bit to make this one seem this one's in front. Okay, so there we go. We have now taken it to the stage of we have completed a full construction humanoid figure in great detail, 360 rotation turnaround of the human body. So this is the first real aspect of the advanced solid drawing course done. So this is the first real milestone. Drawing the guy on top is going to be a lot easier. You're just going to follow along with me. Okay, now along your ribs, okay, so still dealing with this portion here, okay, along the ribs of the human body, right, starting from the first rib. So I'm going to imagine the rib cage from the side for a second here. Okay, so one, there's all these ribs, okay, 12 ribs. I'm not going to bother really. I'm drawing a few of them because I want to explain something to you. Then we've got the scapula, okay, which comes along here, and the clavicle, which comes around here like this. Okay, so what we will have along all of these, all the way up to the 9th rib, I believe, right? So we'll have something here, muscles on these ribs that are attached to the scapula, because they actually help you rotate the scapula around and reach forward with your arm, is these kind of little muscles along the ribs. Okay, and they are called your serratus anterior. Okay, you've also got the serratus posterior, superficial, superior and inferior on the back, but we won't really talk about that. As I said, I'm skimming through this stuff as fast as I can. Now notice how I've got this side line coming here like this, which acted as the side contour when we were dealing with the figure, right? Very good. But now that gives me an opportunity, okay, to think about my serratus anterior muscles. So all I'm going to do is along this line. Now you have to understand that the ribs, they kind of travel this way. So I'm going to use this line as my guide, but I'm not going to go all the way along the line like this. You could do, if you're kind of afraid and you're not a very good draftsman, so you could do that. But if you want to follow along with me, I highly suggest you do, right? So I'm going to start from the line at this point, and I'm going to create I'm just going to create little lines, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Okay, now notice how we start at the line, but then we kind of go in a straight line down here like this, and we kind of angle down a bit like that. If you want to measure, you can measure to the middle of that, right? Now all I'm going to do is from this side, I'm going to join that, and I'm going to come up a bit more, and I'm going to join that, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to join that. And that creates a little bit of definition of the guy's serratus muscles. So the reason I put this hair is on your upper skull, you have something called the mastoid process. So you want to think about the name of this muscle, sternocleido, okay? So the clavicle, the sternum, mastoid, this is the sternal portion now, so it comes out and connects. So we have this triangle coming here connecting this long muscle of the neck to the sternum. You got another mastoid process on this side, and it will join. So mastoid, sternum, sternal portion, sternocleido, mastoid muscle. Okay, so And inside the neck, okay, let me just turn this into this light gray here. Let me turn this into a light blue. We'll then put a dark blue. So obviously the guy's got his jaw here, okay, so we're going to put a jaw. Now here along just under the hyoid bone, you've got your thyroid and you got your muscular triangle of the neck. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. You've got other muscles, the omohyoid, which will come out here and all that. So, but all of this is the thyroid. So we want to think about the sternothyroid, sterno area, sternothyroid, okay, sternohyoid actually, because it's connecting to the hyoid, coming from all from this triangle. So we need to understand the thyroid is going to have this Adam's apple or laryngeal prominence, which will be more on a man than it will on a woman. So the reason, again, I'm telling you that, okay, even though we touched on it in another series, is you will notice these triangles here, and the neck portion. Okay, I'm going to bring it in slightly just because my rough is in and I've toned it down a bit, but you can trace it if you want. And then this triangle, rather than following the complete triangle, I'm kind of imagining that muscle kind of relaxing a little bit. Okay, so I'm imagining kind of like it just curling and bulging, putting an outer side of that muscle, imagining the contours like that. If you're uncomfortable doing that and you struggle with drawing, then just follow my triangle line like that. Okay, now here I'll just use a little bit of that sternal head of there. You can even put a little insertion there if you want. I advise against it, and I've just put it there on that line there like that. So we have a little bit of that neck there. What I am going to put in here is a little definition line for the trapezius, okay, muscle, which comes here, because this is all kind of empty space, okay, and there are different triangles in your neck, which I don't want to go in too much. Okay, you've got your occipital triangle, which is where the trapezius bit sits on. You've got your subclavian triangle, which is this one here, clavian, clavicle, I assume. Okay, don't quote me on that. You have your muscular triangle, which is this area here. Okay, and then you have your mandibular triangle, because this jaw is called the mandible. So the reason I'm telling you that is just so you know why I made this mark here. Okay, so we have created our first real pose of the character, and we're going to go on and we're going to pick out our extremes. So the next one we'll be doing is the front to unify these two, and then we'll be doing the profile. So we're going to go in the same kind of order that we went last time in order to put this guy on top, peak sections. So now I know that this navel or belly button, which I like to call it, sits on top of this line here, so I don't really have to think too much about that. I can just put that in there like that. Now remember what I talked about, just to remind you, for many years, even after studying anatomy, for some reason I foolishly used to think, even though I trained and exercised myself and sported my own six-pack proudly, I foolishly always believed that in the rib cage cavity was where the six-pack. Okay, I used to think, okay, yeah, six-pack here, and then you'll split these two for eight-pack. There's nothing of the sort. Okay, I don't know why. It's very tempting because it seems like, oh, that's the, but the rectus abdominis, okay, starts here and it continues all the way down, and the first two abs are going to be at the top of the above there on the costal portion, and then we're going to have them coming in the middle here like this. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then down here is where the 7 and 8, what you want to call it, if you want to talk about though, when you've got rid of your lower gut fat and you get that what they call the 8-pack, okay, where the loin muscles come in and all that. So that's how the abs work, to remind you. But Since we already know that, and I'm just retouching on that, I'm simply going to use this center line, okay, as my guide. And remember, in the previous thing I talked about, you can just have little diamond shapes here, and you can use that to intuitively figure out your abdominal. There's going to be, we're going to have to divide the muscles into two groups. There's going to be a big muscle here called the trapezius. There's going to be a big muscle here called the latissimus dorsi. Okay, and inside here, running along the scapula, there's going to be a muscle called the infraspinatus. Okay, and we don't see it, but there's a teres minor muscle, and then again attaching to the bone is a teres major muscle. And that's going to sit inside the scapula, on this side of the scapula. Then we'll have an upper trapezius, okay, a middle trapezius, that's what all this is about, and a lower trapezius. And the trapezius actually goes all the way to the 12th rib, which is the last, the 12th spinal vertebrae, which is the last of the thoracic vertebrae, and it starts at the top of the cervical vertebrae. Now, we've been talking in this video just how ingenious these arms are, in the fact that we turn a bicep into a lateral tricep and then into a long tricep just through changing the line length and the bulge. So again, I want to take you to this so you can watch the rotation of the arm just to see how effective that is. Just look at how the bicep turns into the inner bicep hair, but now look how we're going to have to look at it on this side actually, because it conveys it more. So the bicep becomes the inner bicep, and then we introduce from the same bicep lump, we introduce the lateral tricep just by bringing that shape bulge in and out. And then by, look how we're waving that bump up like a sort of wave of water going upwards. That lateral tricep comes up, and then we introduce this line here to create the rear, long head of the tricep, like that, with this insertion for the tricep tendon. So this is now, we're going to be putting that stuff into play with this particular drawing here, this little diamond area in the back of the leg. Okay, so I'm telling you why that diamond exists. That's why we're doing this today. Okay, it's very important. So along up now, connecting to the femur bone, the higher, the long big leg bone, okay, the femur bone, right, we're gonna have, let me just ruins it, we're gonna have a kind of like double bellied muscle which joins with two tendons, and both bellies are like this of the muscle. That's what gastro means in Latin, double bellied. You've also got a muscle under your chin called your digastric muscle, because it's double bellied. All right, so that's called your gastrocnemius, and that connects to the upper bone, whereas these connect to the lower bone, and that's why you get this kind of little diamond shape inside your leg. So you get, I'm gonna use a dark color to kind of highlight that, right? So that comes there, and underneath that you've got another muscle called a soleus or soleus muscle, which you don't really see much of, and they're connected to this thing called your calcaneus tendon, which is affectionately known as the Achilles tendon, named after Achilles, who had a weak heel. So we're going to build the construction of the guy's hair all over again, just like this. So, but we're going to make it work, right? So now, what do we remember? We remember that we have a middle, okay? The middle is where this is going to go. And we remember our little triangle shapes that are going to be like our McDonald's M, or whatever you want to have it as, right? So we're gonna look at those, and we're gonna see that shape. It's the shape that we want to be kind of feel solid. If our shape is too small, okay, or too big, and we're going between them, we know we got a problem, right? So it's just that shape that we want to be working as we're going along here like this. So we have completed our full solid turnaround. That's as far as we're going to take this series. 15 lectures. I've walked you through each and every process by creating this humanoid 3D humanoid character, then building on that with a body with these major frames. We learned about adding a hairstyle, and then after the hairstyle we in-betweened it to get it to the same level of fluidity as this guy here, so it eventually becomes that guy. You've learned how to do that in this lecture series. Now you'll notice here it's even fluider because I've added more. I've even halved it more, so I've added half, and this is a lovely like super clean line, so you can see just how powerful and solid this is when you in between it even further. Okay, and this is intended to be working on ones. So I've walked you through the whole process. If you want to add more in-betweens between hair and hair to get it like that, you just simply have to halve things now. You don't even need construction. You can just put on your onion skin and you can see where you can just in-between, just like a standard basic thing to get that. So that's the one we've created, and this is how it is when it's all on ones and super fluid, rock solid. So that has been my absolute pleasure to take you through this process in Advanced Archive, Advanced Solid Drawing, the complete character turnaround. This will be a nice capper to the head lecture series where we did a complete turnaround of a character's head in a previous lecture. So once again, so you can see this guy moving completely on ones. I've colored it in. You don't have to. Coloring it in adds to the solidity of it, because sometimes in line you don't see things, but if it all works in color, then you know that you really have something special there. So this is the final lecture in this series of Advanced Solid Drawing, the complete character turnaround for the Advanced Archive of the AMB Animation Real Animator Training Library. It has been my absolute pleasure to present this lecture series to you. 15 parts, but well over 15 hours. You can see today we've just been around an hour and a half mark, so probably I would say maybe around 18 to 20 hours of animation training just to create this lecture alone. This is the power of the world's best learning resource in the art of hand-drawn animation. You do not need an instructor when you have training like this, because you are having a video that is step by step teaching you to follow along. These videos are not to be watched and just try to remember and do your own thing. No, that's what a child does when he's eager to play. This is, if you really want to learn, you need to train and you need to follow along as I do it. That's why these lectures are so thorough. And you can have a whole entire course if you go to ambanimation.com and you investigate what real animator training is, because it's going to make you a real animator, no doubt about it. So just simply click on that and you will be taken to this page, which will give you this video that you can watch explaining about the library, little snippets of details for you to quickly get a grasp of what's going on. More videos. This video has been split up into sections, so it tells you about the different courses within this training library. It also tells you about why this place doesn't just attract graduates from the finest animation courses such as CalArts, Sheridan, Full Sail University, Don Bluth University, postgraduate places like Escape, which turn out people in the VFX industry on a consistent basis, professional motion graphics artists, all come to this place, whether they have been, because they need more information, and this place gives them that information. It also tells you who it's not for. You can see my little joke with this shit for brains head hair. So if that little joke aside, if you read that and think, well, I've got some of those tendencies, then perhaps this place is not for you. You can listen to some of the members who have been benefiting from the training library in these testimonial videos. You can view a number of testimonials here. If you just click here, you can see a number of testimonials from real members who are, some of them are actually in the chat of this video as I speak. Yeah, so if you click join now, you will also see a small feedback stream here. Now, I don't want to mislead people. Feedback is not part of the deal. This training library, as it says here, industry professionals and college graduates from the most established courses are signing up to this course, and you're getting the training they still desire for the price of a mid-range laptop, which is effectively an iPad Pro, the price of a child's Christmas present. Now, to get that kind of training for that kind of price, you know, when some of the alternatives are in the 180k mark in some of those universities, you know, and some of the lower alternatives are in the 10k mark, such as Bluth University, you're getting an outstanding deal. So the feedback that I give is every week to my global Facebook community filled with library members, but it's just not guaranteed. So I like to do that out of goodwill. And here you can see me giving feedback to a former Disney animator. So you can see that the caliber of people who come to Real Animator training. The training archives are where you are going to have the step-by-step courses, so let's just focus on those. You can either buy these archives individually or as a bundle. Do note that today's lecture is in the advanced archive. Now, the advanced archive is not included in the bundle because it is just based on all of the information that you would have acquired from these other archives. And you know, if people are going to want to jump into this one, they're going to have to buy it separately and make that decision themselves. If you do not have the experience to be studying this stuff and you find yourself struggling, then you really, you know, that's a deterrent that I'd put for your own good. This archive has to be purchased separately when you feel that you're ready. I know it's tempting to want to do this now with your own anime characters if you're kind of like a self-trained person, hyped and excited. I feel that hype, I feel that excitement. But just understand that this is a process. It's not going to come overnight. You have to follow these step-by-step videos. And even then, you're still going to struggle a little bit because I'm giving you the elite training that Disney guys got. In fact, some of them didn't even get that. You can just go and look at some of their work on Instagram and whatever, and you can see that even some of them struggle with anatomy. So this is really the elite kind of training that you're going to be getting here. You can either buy these step by step and follow, or in a bundle. You'll save a ton of money in the bundle. The bundle is a little bit different. You have to apply by clicking this button, or you can just purchase these at will and you'll immediately be able to log in. Very quickly, there is the edutainment archives. This is for people who are a little less serious about their animation and are looking for tips and tricks from the world's best animation instructor. Yes, that is me. Of course, you'll say, I'll say that. Well, how can you argue really when you've just witnessed this lecture that is so thorough? And, you know, I've got this group on Facebook where you can just go and see just how fast it's free for everybody to join. It's the global Facebook community, Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress. You can click here and see just how fast the progress is being made of people within the Real Animator training library. I'm extremely proud of the you know, there's members posts and non-members posts in here. I'm extremely proud of the people in this group who are actually, this person who's actually in the chat, if you want to give her some love, Kitcha Cat, has only been training with Real Animator training for just 1.5 years, and she's already producing work like this. And if we actually, it's my, you know, I love using her as the example. If we search her posts, you can see, just if you want, just how she has evolved over time with her drawing and her animation. So it's just amazing to watch, really. So you can really see. So this is in April last year. I don't know. Let's have a look at what she's done here. Okay. So that's her first little timing tests that she was doing when she started. Is it gonna load? So there we are. So here's where she all began. Okay, starting with the basics archive, testing her knowledge, and I'm just immensely proud that this work has now turned into, as you saw, with the Peacock run. I don't know, somewhere here. You know, I just give another example. So you see her basic walk. So you can see the transition. She's worked her way through all these. Unfortunately, there's this horrible ad. So she's worked her way through all of this. So here she's trying the basic walk cycle. So it's just extremely, you know, self-evident here just how powerful this place is. That we're having people who have just really turning their lives around through the power of real animated training. Just one more time, just so we can have a look. I'm immensely proud of this person, actually. So if you look, this is just fantastic. The solidity, the timing, the volume control. Look at the peacock tail. Look at those arcs, just beautifully flowing. Reverse curve is happening. Look at the bounce in the neck, the recoil on the head. Everything is just working so nicely for her. So as you can say, if you aren't wanting to go through the step-by-step training, but you want to be instructed or get tips from me, who helped people like Selena, you can watch these what I call my edutainment archives. They're just like live stream sessions that you can see on some of them on my YouTube channel, but most of them are here. Live stream, we have animation sessions where you can, or we have drawing sessions. You've got my Animator Q&A, Ask the Animator, and then you've got my animation breakdown sessions. So that's the AMB Animation Real Animator Training Library, the world's best learning resource in the art of hand-drawn animation, bar none. Feel free to join it if you are serious about becoming good at hand-drawn animation and you want to have the kind of transformation that you can see that's happening to many people in my growth, development, and progress group. Thank you.